I've never seen so far, and I'm working on 3 right now, I see them all the time. I've never seen 2 that are exactly the same. So there's always a drastic difference from practice to practice. They have to be tailor-made for each practice. Now, having said that, there's really only 2 models. There's the eat what you kill model, and then there's the shared equally model. So if you think of the models as being an automobile or a framework, you can take that model and you can add all kinds of accessories and additions to that, and that's what makes them different. But basically, it's an eat what you kill or a shared equally. An eat what you kill model, for example, really is driven by physician production. So that model would say take the individual physician's collections for that month and then allocate to that same physician those direct costs. So really you have 3 buckets here: a direct cost bucket, a shared equally bucket, and a production bucket, let's call it. So for instance, the direct cost might be the PA for the physician or the nurse practitioner, that physician's CME, automobile, etc. Those that are truly that the physician has control over. The second, the shared equally, might be the receptionist. If we have 3 physicians, everybody says, well, we would all have to have a receptionist, so let's share that equally. And then the last bucket, the production bucket, are those costs and those expenses that are driven based on volume. On the other side, though, the easier model is share equally. We've got 3 physicians. You look at the net income at the end of the month, and you split that equally. The problem with that is the first month that you do that, I can promise you one of the physicians is going to say, man, I work much harder than those other 2, so why shouldn't I have more of that income? So there comes the problem with that model. And in many cases, you can have a combination of those 2 models. So you might say, well, let's divide 50% of the practice based on an equal share, and let's do that other 50% based on production or any percent inside there. I guess the other important thing to say is, even though we're talking about physician compensation agreements, and I would tell you it's one of the most important documents the physician will sign, you'll never see, or usually won't see, a document called physician compensation agreement. It's encompassed in the physician employment agreement and usually is described there, or it's see attachment A for distribution of income and profits. So a physician is faced early on with looking at a document that's a very legal document that has some of the most complex accounting in it, and that's usually at the start, the entry into that practice, and maybe even into the career. So it's very important. And then finally, I'd say that the physician compensation agreement has to be looked at regularly because things change. You move offices, you change nurses, you change practice habits. So consequently, what was in one category can change from the next quarter to a different category.